Hello, everyone, and welcome to our online soapbox discussion. We are two librarians from Kingsborough Community College at the City University, New York, and we are streaming this video presentation live. Yes, live on YouTube. The topic of our discussion today is measuring the impact of open sources, such as open educational resources for tenure and promotion. For those of you who are viewing live, please participate in the discussion using the chat feature on the left side of the screen or right side of the screen. Uh, and we will respond to you throughout our soapbox presentation. For those of you who are watching this video after the live broadcast, please do not hesitate to post a comment with your feedback and we will gladly continue this discussion. But most important, please like this video. Thank you. During the academic years of 2015 to 2017, Mark and I took on the task of launching an OER initiative to leverage the adoption of open educational resources on our campus. Our first step was reaching out to faculty to gauge their interest and knowledge of OERs. All of the faculty members were aware of the savings in costs in course materials for students, and all of them were aware that if they adopted OERs, the course materials would be more accessible to all of the students from day one. We were also able to identify many faculty OER champions who have adopted OERs for semesters and years, or won grant awards for creating and adopting OERs for their courses. Then there were many faculty members who were not ready to adopt new course materials because many finished adopting new course materials. They recreated a new curriculum without OERs in mind. Or there were others who needed more time to learn about OERs. We tried to address many of our colleagues' concerns by providing campus-wide workshops on OERs and Creative Commons for those unfamiliar with OERs and faculty who are not sure about or ready to adopt OERs. However, credit towards tenure and promotion was a consistent topic, especially for faculty in disciplines with high cost course materials and very little to no existing open sources available to create an OER. Considering all of the innovative hard work put into creating an OER from scratch in many areas, how can these professors gain credit and recognition for their work? Although it would be beneficial for them to publish a work and have many other educators and students access their work, recognition ends there without any impact in their professional track for tenure and promotion. Common practice among colleges with tenure promotion is measuring the impact of scholarly work. CUNY has made an effort to provide faculty with a platform that makes faculty's scholarly works more visible and possibly have more impact. This platform at our college is called the institutional repository called CUNY Academic Works. Um, it's an ideal place to collect data and measure the impact of scholarly work. But Mark will speak about this next.
So hi, I'm going to talk a bit about CUNY's Academic Works, which is a hub for much of the open work that's happening at our university. Academic Works hosts both original scholarship and OERs, and it makes these freely accessible to anyone on the web. Um, Accessibility is one of the real benefits of an institutional repository. It benefits both scholars and readers. Scholars benefit from the exposure it gets to their works, and readers are able to access work that might have otherwise been paywalled. But this is a lot of work. It doesn't run itself. The Office of Library Services at CUNY does a lot of work to keep the institutional repository up and running, and librarians do behind the scenes outreach work to faculty to get their content into their repository. In 2016, the librarians at CUNY, some librarians at CUNY were recognized with the Excellence in Technology Collaboration Award for their efforts. So that's our librarians' contributions, and we've reached some important milestones as well. Um, Academic Works has over 15,000 works contributed at this point and over 850,000 downloads. And metrics like these are really important. Librarians and especially administrators are very tuned into measurable outcomes. So conversations about the value of open scholarship and the value of open education resources often lean heavily on metrics. And OERs are at a particularly critical juncture right now because they've gained traction in yet many universities, but we've not yet documented much of their success at scale. So metrics are essential at this juncture, but measurement is not straightforward. There aren't well-established methodologies. Like bibliometrics and scholarly analytics they have long histories, but OER champions have only begun to adapt these insights to OER. So you might ask, well, why is OER difficult to measure? And there's a couple of reasons. One is that there's many repositories where this content lives, and these all provide different data to the researcher. And there's also many different types of authorship too, from creation of OERs to remixing to adapting. And establishing a common, consistent vocabulary to discuss these types of authorship is difficult, and it's still an ongoing discussion. So importantly, this is a new field, right? OER concepts are evolving, and they're informed by the work that's happening at many institutions all over the place. So the most important, the most obvious approach to finding relevant data is to look at institutional data, and many OER champions have gone this route. And it's helpful because it allows us to collaborate with others on our campuses and to develop conclusions that are relevant to our communities. But sometimes generalizing these local conclusions more broadly is a challenge for OER champions. So on our campus, we did some work with the Department of Institutional Research, who provided us with quantitative data that we used to produce some charts and headline numbers that would be compelling to our community. So we demonstrated textbook savings on our campus that that OERs could and already did, funds that OERs already could save us and already did save us. So these collaborations are useful for building buy-in on campus, but they're also limited in some respect. We were interested in conclusions that went beyond our own campus. So this is where there's the possibility of measuring open initiatives at a broader scale. And we were thinking about what kind of measures we could apply across repositories. So we talked about the possibility of an H-index-like measure for OER, and I'm going to really quickly explain what H-index is. It is the easiest way to think of it is that if an author has at least 3 publications with 3 citations, they would have an H-index of 3, or 5 publications with at least five citations would have a h-index of 5. So it's not a very sophisticated measure, and it has its problems, but it's nice in terms of its broad applicability across repositories. And this appealed to us in spite of its flaws. But the real problem we faced was what do we count? Where do we get data? How do we find something measurable? If it's not h-index, if it's some other measure, how do we find a measurable data set that we can use? And we struggled with this. Repository APIs would be the obvious place to gather data programmatically. APIs allow for machine-to-machine communication where we could query an API and retrieve data from a repository that we could then use for statistical analysis. But unfortunately, many repository APIs are not publicly accessible, if at all. So one of the takeaways from this was that the OER and the IR community have a long ways to go in building out the data infrastructure needed to do quantitative measures at scale. And to measure these ecosystems at scale, there's more work for us to do. So I'm going to pass this back to Rebecca now.
Wow, that's very interesting. We need to consider the following questions. Why are APIs not openly accessible, especially in open educational repositories? We need to mobilize this culture by making the APIs a lot more accessible. Uh, we would appreciate your feedback or your input. Please do not hesitate to continue this discussion in the chat feature or comment below. The next question to consider is, what are alternative ways to measure the impact of an OER or an open source? And how can newly created OERs count towards tenure and promotion? Thank you very much. Please like this video and comment below. We need your feedback.